Hello, welcome back to Linux and Unix administration. Today we're going to be creating a virtual host inside of our web server that we actually created earlier. Now, if you didn't create the web server earlier, no problem. Just go ahead and build out an Apache box and power it on. For us, we're going to be using the local host. So go to a host network manager and be sure that VBoxNet 0 is enabled right there and that the DHCP server is enabled. If you go into properties and you want to check the server, that's what it should look like right there. And that's all there is to it. So we can close that. Then I have the workstation clone, which is just a Linux Mint box, and it has Apache installed. So I'm going to choose Start and power that machine on. So this will take just a second. There we go. And the machine should be up in just a moment. Now, of course, when you're powering the machine up, be sure that your network settings are set for VBoxNet 0 over a network host only adapter VBoxNet 0. Now, over in advanced, you can allow all, deny, it doesn't make any difference. So, whatever you want there. Now, back over here, we have the login. We're going to use the login right here, which for me is going to be student and password. So you can see that student and password right there. And what I'm looking for is the IP address. You see my IP address came right up on the screen there. So if I do an ifconfig, you can see that that is actually the IP address, that 192.168.56.101. Now I've got that there. I can go ahead and I can actually exit out of here if I want to and leave it like this. I'm going to take this machine and minimize it. Now I'll minimize this too. Now we're going to open up two terminal windows from our host machine. So right here, my host machine, you can see I've got an IP of 192.168.56.1. I'll pop that right up there and make this a little bit bigger so you can all see it. One less. There we go. And I'm going to open up another terminal, and I'm going to pop that down to the bottom down there. There we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll make that maybe 5. Can I get 5 out of it? You know what? I think 5 is probably going to be better, but it doesn't fit exactly right. So, okay. So we got this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to edit our etc host file. So we're going to sudo vi etc hosts. Now when we go into etc hosts, we're going to make a simple change here. We can annotate that with a comment and say Apache vhosts, like that. Fine. And for that, we're going to take that IP address that we saw earlier, 192.168.56.101, and we're going to give it two sites. Now, the two sites we're going to use is www.mysite.com and www.public.com. So those are the two sites that we're going to have. Now I'm going to hit escape:/WQ and save that file. That file is saved. Let's go ahead and SSH student at 192.168.56.101. That's going to connect us up to the server. Type the password for password there. And now I'm going to sudo -s. Now when I'm sudoing -s on this box, everything I do will need to be root. So I'll need to be root to do everything that I'm going to be doing here. I'll be changing configuration files over on the server. Now the server is called Workstation, but that's just the name. It's no biggie there. Now over on that workstation, I'm going to go make some changes. So first thing, cd to var www.html. And by the way, we already have Apache installed. I look in the HTML directory, and I notice there's nothing there. So first thing I do is vi index.html. Now this is going to be our artificial or our imaginary hosting provider. So I'm going to do title here and just call this hosting provider. And there you go. And we'll make this center. We'll make it bold. That's a header one. And we'll say this is the web hosting provider. Like that. Center. And take off the bold, which is the header. And then over here, we'll go ahead and close out the HTML. Okay, super. So we have that. Now we're going to open Firefox. I'm just going to pop open Firefox in the bottom window over here. And in that bottom window, we'll be able to see my, let's move that. There we go. Okay, got it down there. Make sure that you can see that okay. Good. Now I'm going to enter the IP address, that 192.168.56.101. And there it is. It says hosting provider up here in the title. And then we see the web hosting provider right there on the page. So we do have it right there. So we know Apache is working. So we can see the address there and everything is functional. We can also go over to our machine where we had that terminal there earlier, and we can ping www.mysite.com. Just do it one time. And that comes back with a proper IP. And ping www.public.com. And that comes back with the right IP. Now notice I don't actually own either of these sites, these domains here. This mysite and public.com, I don't own these. But what I've done is I've changed Etsy hosts so my computer goes where I want it to go. And so in Firefox, I told it do not use DNS over HTTPS. Go ahead and use my local host file. So now we've got that. We know that that works. Those are good. Let's go ahead and make our first VirtualHost edition. So we're going to go cd Etsy Apache 2 sites available. Now inside of sites available, you'll see we got two right there. The first one is that default, so they cat that thing. And this actually has everything in it we need. So it's got the VirtualHost there, it's got the server name, although commented out. It's got the document root. It even has some stuff for Vim if we want to put that in there. We don't need to. So let's go ahead and create. So if you forget what you need to type, then there it is. Let's go ahead and create a file named vhosts.conf. C-O-N-F. Inside of vhost.conf, we're going to create our first virtual host. So capital V there for virtual host. Like that. Next is server name. And the server name for this one would be www.mysite.com. And then document root. And document root will be var www.html www.mysite.com. That's just the directory we created. And VirtualHost to close out that first VirtualHost. Now, as you can imagine, what we're going to do is copy this and paste it right there. So we'll have two of them. If you want to, put a space, no problem. But let's go over and change this to public.com. And we'll need to change this to public.com. Now you can see this is referencing directories there in the HTML folder. This is a directory. It's a document www.html www.public.com. Well, let's go make sure those exist. var www.html. They don't, so let's create them. So make directories www.mysite.com and www.public.com like this. All right, now we've created both those sites. Let's go ahead and put some information in there. The first way we're going to do it is just simply echoing into a relative path. So we're going to say echo, this is my site, just like that. And we're going to use the relative path, www.mysite.com index.html. Now, HTML is extremely forgiving, so it won't care that we misconfigured that entirely. It's just fine. Next, I'm going to use an absolute path just to show you that, you can use absolute path. This is a public, let's try it again, public site right there. And we'll do var www.html, and then we'll do www.public.com index.html. All right, now if we bring up Firefox, those sites are still not going to load. So if I go over here and go www.public.com, then it still gives me just the web hosting provider. Well, that's not right. Well, what if I go to mysite.com? www.mysite.com, like that, web hosting provider. If I just go to the raw IP address, it's going to give me 192.168.56.101. The web hosting provider. It's not working. Why not? Well, we haven't told it where to go yet. So let's go over here into Etsy, Sites, in this case, I'm sorry, Apache 2. Apache 2, in this case, Sites Enabled. So let's go to Sites Enabled. In Sites Enabled, you see that our vhost file is not there. So let's go ahead and link that. So we'll do a ln-s for a symbolic link to Etsy, Apache 2, Sites Available, vhosts to right here. So that's a symbolic link of what? That file to where? Right here. Now if we look at this, you'll see that we've got vhost conf. Now let's go activate that and see what happens. Now we'll do as service Apache 2 restart. Now we'll go back over here. Of course, the IP address loads the same thing it did before. Go to www.mysite.com, and MySite loads MySite now. And if you go to www.public.com, that loads the public site. So now each site gives its own site. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to change a site a little bit and show you how hackers fake sites. So this is going to be a very simple way of doing it, and I'm just going to do a screenshot, but a simple way of doing it. So I'm going to go to public.cybernatos.net, which just happens to be one of our sites. And then I'm going to make this large, full screen. And in full screen right here, I'm going to take a screenshot. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this page. Of course, if you're a hacker, then you're going to actually download the page, make all the links work and everything else. But here's a screenshot, and you'll see how amazing this is that you can do this kind of thing. So I'm taking a screenshot right now. The prompt comes up, and it's like, hey, where do you want to put this? So go ahead and save that to your temp directory. So over here, you're going to choose Other, and then you're going to save that to your temp directory. So save that to your TMP directory there. Open, and then the name of the file, we're going to call it public.png right there. So we'll say save. All right, so now we saved that. Let's go ahead and drop Firefox back down. We're going to go back over to www.public.com just so we can leave it sitting there. Now let's open up this other window. This is on our host computer. Remember, this over here is our server. You can see that's our server, and this is the host computer. On our host computer, I'm going to copy that file from the temp directory that I just made, public png, and student at 192.168.56.101:temp. I'm going to throw it in the temp directory on the server. Now if I come up here and I go back over to var www.html, which if that was the last directory you're in, you just do cd dash like this. So that cd dash takes you to your last directory. So now I'm going to the www.public.com. Inside public.com, I've got the index.html. I don't have public.png. That's because public.png is over in the temp directory. So I need to copy that. Copy temp public png to my current directory. The / meaning current directory. There we go, and I've got it now. Now I'm going to change my index file. So I go vi index.html. I'm going to delete that and make this a little more proper. Just put it out here. We'll just say, yeah, we'll give it a title, sure. And we'll say this is public. Oops, this is title. All right, so I got title there. And then we'll go ahead and make an image source centered on the page. So center. Then we'll do img src equals public.png like that. And then we'll do center like that and HTML like that. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go back to Firefox. And Firefox, I'm going to refresh this. And if you look at that, we've got public.com, which now looks like the other site. Of course, this is actually just a screenshot. But if there was an overlay on this where it's just a login, and that login had some script that was overlaying over the login and password, you probably would never notice. Of course, you can always mirror the site, but sometimes sites keep their graphics inside of a database, and so you won't be able to pull the graphics down. But this just gives you an example of how hackers replicate sites. And this one, of course, is a simple example for a screenshot, but this is just something that can make you go like, oh my goodness, that's not really public.com. That's my own site, right? My own server. But that's it. Hope that this has helped. Hope that this was informative, and I look forward to talking to you on the next video.